Good morning, everybody. So, figured I had some more energy, and I really just couldn't stop wanting to show off this deck. It was one of my favorites, still is. Don't get to play it all the time. It's one of those games. It's one of those decks you kind of bust out in the beginning of the night, and then you get your fun, and then you put it away. So this one is my Tormod, the Desecrator, Sakashima partner commander, and to have that with our Gyruda. With that, such a pretty little halo foil on that Kraken Mommy. And essentially, the whole game plan here is through turns 1 and 2, you're just kind of hopefully getting a rock, all the even cost things, because that's Gyruda's little side hustle she's got going on. Is every card in your game or every card in your starting deck has to start with an even mana cost. So pretty fun. When she ETBs, every player is going to mill 4, and then you get to pick a creature with even converted mana cost from among those and put that into play under my control. So it's really fun. So what you want to do is on turn 3, you grab Gyruda from the companion zone, put her in your hand. Turn 4, either play Tormod or play some other card in the deck, whatever. And then you want to just whatever, turn 5, hopefully you've ramped, and then you can turn 6, play Gyruda, and then you'll see kind of what shenanigans but we're going to have. But the whole idea is hopefully you want to have Sakashima out either before Gyruda, or if you can flex it, you can keep him, if you're not running into the things you need to hit, you can have him saved up for when you have Gyruda in play for your next turn. So you can clone Gyruda and get rid of the legendary rule, because that's the whole plan here, is we're going to solitaire, and we are going to just keep milling until we have a million of these mommies, and then we're going to swing, kill somebody if they don't scoop first after having all their good stuff thrown in the bin. So, let's move along. Set those over there. We'll start with removal, right? So we got Flood of Tears. You know, you bounce all non-land permanents in their hand, but this is really fun because, you know, it's if you really got to bounce everything, there's some crazy things that might kill you next turn. Bounce everything, but if you controlled 4 or more permanent or non-token permanents, which you most likely will, because all your stuff are just clones, you can just then start the chain over again. So it can be a good thing if you kind of stall out to kick the gas back up. Noxious Gearhulk is just a really good piece of removal. I mean, in a lot of decks, it's a 6 cost, 5/4 with menace. Comes in, blows something up, and you get life. And it's a creature, so it's a target for Gyruda or some of the clones to get things, to remove more things, gain more life if you really need to. Same thing here with Massacre Worm. Nothing is more crazy than when you have, like, your opponent has a giant board, and then you Massacre Worm off your Gyruda, and then you just clone, and then just the easy way. It's also one of the win conditions in the deck. Infant Mutineer, super funny guy. You know, I really like him because he is an exile effect, so he can really get rid of those pesky non-salamanders that you might be struggling with. And he hits off Gyruda, every creature in this deck will. And then he also has an encore cost, so he's double good, because if you mill him and you want to grab your clone, he's not just lost value, you can still go get him. Whelming Wave, our babies are Krakens, so it just bounces all things but Gyrudas. Tyrant Scorn in the new art from the Prosperity Post. I just wanted some more removal, just because sometimes, you know, you just really got to get something off the board. And it's really good for getting, like, the early game, which is when Gyruda really starts to struggle, so you can have access to it. But it also could return Gyruda if you need to save her, because once she gets in the bin, it can kind of be... the deck will switch plans, which we'll talk about at the end here, kind of what your 2 major game plans are to win. Now we're going to move into the Protection Suite. It's not very big. It's about 3 cards. Really, we just muddle the mixture. You know, it's just a good one. Counter target instant or sorcery. That's what you're really going to be afraid of a lot of the time. Creatures, oftentimes, it's cool if they have some really bomb creatures, because then you'll just clone them and take them for yourself. Arcane Denial, very flexible. That's why I like this one. Get to draw some cards. Just pretty straightforward. Not as straightforward as just straight up counterspell, though. The good old, the classic, love this treatment for it from Commander Masters. Super fun. Boom, get them. These are super fun. So these flicker effects here, with Teferi's Time Twist and Siren's Ruse, I often keep them for either right before my turn or just for protection in general, because, you know, it not only fizzles targeted removal on Gyruda, it re-triggers her proc. So it's super nice just to be able to be like, boop, grab them, hit them up, and then if you use any of these other things, it's so fun. It's really, really good. Love them. All right, we're in the draw. We're in the draw now. Let's get this refocused here. But we're trying to draw. So Baleful Strix, super, super good. Love this treatment for it. Flying Death Touch when it ATBs. You draw a card. Really, really have a good time with Baleful Strix. Just good little rattlesnake with that Death Touch and flying. Helps keep you safe. Like I said earlier, the early game is where Gyruda really has a difficult time on everything. So this one, Deep Analysis. Okay, Deep Analysis is really, really fun in the way that it is. This art is beautiful. Love Nicol Bolas. Super fun. But target player draws 2 cards for 4. Really cool. Main reason in here is the flashback, right? It's draw when you need it, but the big thing you might really need it for is when you're milling, you get a creature, you can't get this to your hand. Well, you could, but when you get this to your hand, it just has the flashback, so it's not lost value because you'll be milling a lot of your own deck too. Bitter Triumph. It's just fun, you know. You could pay 3 life, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Pretty easy. Or just discard a card, which could be good because you have some reanimation in here. So, good stuff to get stuff in your bin. Same thing here, Altar's Reap. Sometimes, you know, maybe you have like one of our reanimation spells that we can run, like Animate Dead, and we just sack a clone, animate it back, keep the chain going, and you get to draw. Dig Through Time. You're going to be milling a lot of your own deck, and you're going to have a lot of crap in there that you really don't need, so we'll just be able to delve this, and oh, so pretty. So pretty. The old bordered foils, so nice. Alright. And then when we're looking at Night's Whisper here. Let me just adjust that. Okay. Alright, so we're looking at Night's Whisper. Night's Whisper, just another classic, just draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Search for Visconta. This one is something I've been toying around with, but I think I like it. You know, I've had it since it was in Standard, and it was super, super busted and really fun. And it's just card selection, and it just puts stuff in your graveyard, so it's really fun in that way. It synergizes really well. This one's super neat, too. Any of these effects that are just like tap, draw a card, discard a card, those are pretty fun. Any sort of like looting effect like this. And, you know, if it's an instant or sorcery speed, each opponent loses a life, so it can drain too, and then you can sack this to recur something too. So any of that kind of stuff is really fun. Ooh yeah, now we're getting into the real bread and butter of the deck, which is going to be cloning. We are going to be cloning either my stuff, which I guess we'll just kick that off now into going over like, I guess what the 2 major functions of the deck are. Ideally, this is the major game plan here, is you play Gyruda, you clone Gyruda a bunch of times, and then you just have an army to swing with, and you've got, you know, it's just fun. You get to play, hopefully, you're going to play Gyruda, mill 4 cards, get a clone. Mill 4 cards, get another clone. Keep going that cycle. We're running pretty much every even-costed clone you could have. But if Gyruda gets shut down and people are really not having a good time, I've really had a really, really fun time also playing Gyruda's backup plan, which is I play your deck. And you just clone, because I really try and focus on the even-costed clones that can really copy any creature on the battlefield, like Mirror Hall Mimic here, as you can see, just of any creature on the battlefield. So that really helps in the way that we need, and just in case Gyruda gets shut off, because if she gets shut off, then that's really our game plan, is hopefully your opponents have something fun, which 99% of the time, someone's going to have something big and swingy and cool that you can copy and clone. So Mirror Hall Mimic is the first one that we're going to run with. Has Disturb, super cool, really pretty. Good stuff there. Sakashima Student, that's the next one that we run. This one's really good with Ninjutsu. If you need to get in the early game, it has a lot of flexibility in that way. But super good stuff there. Self-Reflection. This is a newer one I'm messing around with. Just creates a copy, but I really enjoy it for the flashback. Just in case you do mill this, because it's not a creature. There's not a ton of even-costed clones. I mean, there's a lot, and we're running them. But any effect you can get that can generate another copy of a creature, super good. And the flashback on this one is just too good to pass up. Audon Soldier. This one's super, super cool just because it can be flexible without Sakashima on the field, because it itself has it gets rid of the legendary clause, and it has Myriad. So this one can be super, super fun. You get it as a copy of Gyruda, you swing with Gyruda, make 3 more Gyrudas, or 2 more Gyrudas, it can be pretty intense. Alright, Vile Duplication, same thing, and it has that non-legendary clause, super useful here. Spark Double, same thing. Clone, this one's another one of the really special ones that can skip that legendary clause, but it can also just, this one isn't as flexible because it's not, you know, it's as creatures I control, but the legendary clause is enough to skip that. A 2-mana clone, the Doctor Who set really came through with these clones, adding, you know, Auton Soldier and Flesh Duplicate. This one's super cool. It can be really flexible in that early game if you need to just have a blocker in play. You know, you don't be afraid to ever just play your clones. You don't have to stick to the Gyruda plan. If you need something, Flesh Duplicate it and just get something, because it's any creature on the battlefield. Vanishing 3 is pretty much like whatever, because 3 turns, you played on turn 2, turn 5 it dies, whatever. You're already started an engine. Undercover Operative. Love the art for Undercover Operative. Super nice here. And then this one has a protection, so it gets a shield counter on it, which is super nice. Machine God's Effigy, I think incredibly underrated card. I never see it in any time I'm playing, so I really enjoy Machine God's Effigy. Comes into play as a copy of any creature, except it's also a rock that adds blue. Really cool. Gigantoplasm, just pretty much your straightforward clone here. Except it does have a little bit of a buff effect. I mean, Gyruda's a 6/6, so oftentimes you won't really be using Gigantoplasm, but it's there. Any utility is nice, right? That's all we really need. Vizier of Many Faces, one of the really good clones too, just because it has Embalm. So it's another one of those effects that you can get back from the graveyard in case you need to mill it, or you know, sometimes you'll mill and you have 3 of your clones in that stack. So sometimes you just got to pick the most suitable one or the best one. Or this one gives you the flexibility of not having to pick that one. Clever Impersonator, awesome. You know, any non-land permanent on the battlefield could really save you. You know, if your opponent's got a propaganda or they got some crazy thing that can really help you out, boom, Clever Impersonator it. Phyrexian Metamorph, I love Phyrexian Metamorph, incredibly flexible with the 3 generic and 2 Phyrexians, so if you're maybe just stuck on black mana for some reason, or you know, just things are just not going your way, this can really be flexible in the way that it can do any artifact or creature in play too, and just really help you there. Clone, straightforward clone. Just copy any creature. Boom. Good. Sakashima the Imposter. This one's super nice in the way that it can bounce itself. You know, you pay 4, return this creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This is just in case maybe you're stalling out or you're not hitting all the clones, and that's just good in that way. Evil Twin. Evil Twin is fun. It's good for your game plan to copy your creatures, but if you ever get switched onto the game plan of copying the other player's stuff, Evil Twin's really cool because you can just, you know, copy something, blow it up. There you go. And then you could flicker it with some of the flicker effects, do it again if you really need to. Phantasmal Image. 2-cost clone. It does have the stipulation of when it gets targeted, you know, sack it, but whatever. It's a 2-mana clone. Super nice. Sakashima's Protege. Having Flash is really, it's really interesting. I don't think I've ever really used the Flash potential here. Cascade is really nice. And then, you know, you have Sakashima's Protege into the battlefield as copy any permanent. So Gyruda, you don't cast the creatures, you put a creature into play, so I've never really gotten too much benefit off Cascade outside of the times where you have to switch to plan B. But, like I said, any utility is good utility, just because when you do have to switch off the main game plan, you can get on that backup here. Then we're looking over here at our Stunt Double. Stunt Double, Flash, just another copy. This one's new out of Outlaws of Thunder Junction, so I haven't really had a chance to play with it yet. But I think it's pretty nice, you know. It's a 4-mana 2/2, has Plot, which that could come in really nice. You know, maybe on turn 4 you haven't ramped, or probably turn 5 if you haven't ramped, because you don't have a ton to do if you haven't ramped. But because your turn 3 is pretty much always going to be grab Gyruda, put her in your hand. But sometimes maybe you have a different plan here, and you can just use Visage Bandit, set it aside, and then have it prepared for when you do run out of steam. If you're not hitting your clones, just have a free clone to get out of the way. Wall of Stolen Identity. This thing has really put in some work in this deck. Just when, you know, maybe you don't need to copy Gyruda with it, it's good for that too, but it really comes in handy when you are on game plan B and you need to tap down something super gross, and you can just keep it tapped down with Wall of Identity. So that's really nice. Now we're going to get into our little ramp package here. Heartless Summoning. This is really cool. I mean, it's a 2-mana enchantment, really flexible with the black and 1 generic, but creatures costing 2 less is so big. I mean, if you play this on turn 2, you turn 3 Gyruda. On turn 4, you could just play Gyruda. It's nuts. And then it makes all your clones incredibly cheap. Doesn't really impact your board. Neg 1 really doesn't matter. So, no problems there. Arcane Signet. Classic stuff. Felwar Stone. Really cool there. And then Thran Dynamo has been really nice. Just because, I mean, it just shoots you so far forward. Because most of your clones are just going to be 1 to 2 pips. And then you do have a lot of generic mana costs. That's why this, and this, and this, and this are all in there. Because we're trying to just ramp so hard until turn 5. And then that's when we're playing Gyruda. And, you know, the extra mana helps a lot. Because sometimes, you know, you have enough for Gyruda and a clone or whatever. And then you just have more colored mana fixing with the Talisman and the Dimmer Signet. So that's always good. And then Sad Boy. Sad Robot, super cool, really helpful. It's classic, comes in, you ramp. But I always love running Sad Boy when you have cloning effects. Because, you know, our artifact ramp is cool, but nothing beats straight up land ramp. And then you copy this guy, and then he dies, your clones die, you draw cards, super cool. Another Outlaws of Thunder Junction card here. Lively Dirge. I just put this in here, so trying to just test it out. I think it'll be good just because the recursion effect here, but it also gives you the flexibility of, you know, targeting something if you need to, because we do have recursion packages, which we're about, I mean, this is the top part of it, just because of the return 2 creatures. Up to 2 creatures is the key part, because we're probably just going to get 1 4 mana. Get that. Alright, Stitch Together. So return target creature from the graveyard to your hand for 2, sorcery speed. And then it has Threshold, which I don't think I've ever cast this without meeting Threshold. So instead of going to your hand, it goes to play. So that's always nice. For 2 mana. Makeshift Mannequin, same thing. This is just a reanimation, but it's instant speed. That part has just been so unexpected for people. You know, they think, they kill Gyruda, they kill some clones, they think you're kind of boned. And then you just Makeshift Mannequin, bring back Gyruda, and start that whole chain over again. And then in the board that they're swinging into now is like 6 6/6s. So, really cool. Grim Harvest, this one's just good. You know, it's instant speed. Someone kills. Most times, if people try and get rid of Gyruda, they're stacking effects. Like they're going to try and kill Gyruda, send her to your graveyard, and then exile her so you can't get her back. Because they know the game plan, especially if they've played against it more than one time. And this is just good instant speed stuff, because oftentimes you're not doing the recover. This will just get exiled. Gravedigger, just a 4 cost. You know, it's good to hit this sometimes off Garuda's triggers. It just helps, you know, keep things in your hand or get back a value piece you might need. Animate Dead. This is just hitting that classic recursion like we were talking about, you know. I mean, enchant card in your graveyard, creature card, bring it back, and then there you go, Animate Dead. Classic. Trencher Gearhulk. This one has been so fun. Trencher Gearhulk, when you hit it off Gyruda, because you do mill a lot of like instant speed, that can get stuff back like Makeshift Mannequin, where you can just be like, oh, Trencher Gearhulk off Gyruda, go get this, go Makeshift Mannequin a clone, and then just really keep that cycle going. Dread Return. Dread Return is awesome in the way that it's recursion and flashback. Flashbacks just cannot be understated enough in a deck like this. Wake the Dead. This is something I've taken in, I've put it out, but I really like it. I've been on the fence about it for a few times, but nothing can really beat, like if you don't, if this is 1 card in your hand, and it's like, well, what could he have? Awake the Dead? This could end the game. On your opponent's turn, they swing at you, or they swing at somebody else. Doesn't even matter. And you got a stacked bin, and Gyruda's in it. You just go Wake the Dead, put Gyruda in first, all your clones in first. I mean, that's 4 cards per Gyruda trigger. You could potentially mill people out if it's the end game when you're casting this. Super insane, and no one expects an instant speed Wake the Dead. Dreadhound. This is just a win condition. I mean, it's in here because, the mill 3 cards can sometimes be meh, but it's a 6-costed 6/6, but the really thing you're in here for is when a creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from the library, each opponent loses a life. So this is how you can just destroy people with Dreadhound and Gyruda. You don't even have to clone Dreadhound. Burning Rune Demon. This is really nice just because, it's a 6-cost 6/6 flyer, which is just great in general, but the double tutor, 1 goes to the graveyard, 1 goes to your hand. Graveyard's great. You love that place. Nightmare Shepherd. This thing can be such a huge pain for your opponents. You play Nightmare Shepherd out, and then it's like, okay, well, now we can't even kill Gyruda, because if we kill Gyruda, or if you kill the clones, because most times they're going to target Sakashima first, because it's the legendary rule that'll kill all your other Gyrudas. So you kill that one, and then it's more Gyruda triggers for you. It's awesome. Deadeye doesn't really need to be explained, but it's a soulbound 6-costed 5/5 that essentially you pair it to one of your clones, ideally one with any extra value, and then you just can pay one in a blue and flicker, and it's super, super nice. Another win condition there. So that gets us into our lands. This is Drownyard Temple. This is really only in here just because it's a land you can mill and get back. So that's always nice with some value there. And then we have Myriad Landscape, just, ramp. And then we have our colored lands here, Morphic Pool, Command Tower, pretty classic there. And then we have our Tainted Isle. These are our just blue-black lands. Watery Grave, Drowned Catacombs, and then that gets us into our basics, which our basics here, I went with these Crimson Vow lands. People really hate them, but I like them. I really only like them in Dimmer or like swamp decks, because like the swamps are so swampy, So we run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We run 13 swamps. Super cool. That's just flexible there. Blue is probably our main stifling point, but we do need to have some black. And this is the main reason that triggered me into choosing these swamps. It's just the art for the decaying ship felt it went very well with Gyruda and her whole plan here. It just it's so good. So for our islands, we're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So definitely leaning a lot more into our blue, but like I said, and as you saw, we definitely lean a lot more blue. So that is my deck tech here for these three. For Sakashima, Tormod, Gyruda. Been a really good time, and it's super, super fun when you get to just Gyruda yourself and just play a million clones and make your opponents cry. And like I said, this is definitely one of those decks that as you're playing, people are definitely going to want to switch it up after they've gone up against it once or twice. So, but yeah, if you have any questions or if you think I missed anything, I did take out Sublime Epiphany. I just needed it in another deck, and the same thing here with C Double. I just got to pick up another copy of it. I only have this one that I pulled. But outside of those additions, that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed, and please leave a comment about anything you might have think I could have added or anything like that. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.